Hey, Chloe, how are you doing?
I'm so good. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How is everything in your world?
Everything, honestly, couldn't be better. I've held on to this music for about 2 years, and now it's finally being released, so it's pretty much the most exciting period of my life.
I was going to say, you've been tormenting us. The album release date keeps getting pushed back. What's up with that?
You know, it's timing. It's just kind of getting, like, just all the, the right things in place, and this just felt like the right thing to do. It just took us a minute to get everything together, because also, we basically made a movie of this whole record, so it just took us a minute to even get all the videos in order and things like that, and, unfortunately, things just get pushed back. We're artists. What can you expect?
Well, I know you've got to be chomping at the bit to get it out. What we've heard of it so far is just amazing. First off, I got to tell you,
Thank you.
Where has your voice been all my life? My ears are in love.
Oh, stop. Oh, my God. Well, thank you very much. I've been in the business a really long time. I started when I was 12, and I've just kind of gone through, the changes of the industry, and I've done different records for other people. I've toured with other artists. So I've been around. It's just taken me a little bit to kind of get my own thing ready to go. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think this is what was meant to be. So here I am.
Right. And as you alluded to, you've worked with so many amazing people over the years. You've done Rocktopia, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. You worked with Yanni quite a bit, and so many more. My buddy Joel Hoekstra. Why was now the right time to finally bring your creative voice forward?
I think, the whole basis of the record came from a huge life change that started with a heartbreak, and it became a much bigger thing than just heartbreak, but it was a challenging time that I kind of took advantage of to really kind of find my voice. And I've always been one that I can do a couple different things. I can sing pop, I can sing rock, I can sing soul, and whatever artist I'm working with, I can kind of cater to what they want. And it's always been a bit of a struggle, kind of just being like, what is my own voice? And it really took some kind of alone time and self-reflection to really do that. So I spent about a year in my Brooklyn apartment just kind of figuring out what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it without any judgment. So this was just like the perfect time, and I was able to do it. So if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So tell us then a little bit about the journey that became the in-between, because obviously, as you just mentioned, there's sort of a theme running throughout this album, and it's sort of been a process of recreation, if you will.
Right. Well, it started, as like I said, with a heartbreak. I left my very comfortable, cozy relationship of 7 years, and I moved into an apartment by myself, kind of left all of my friends, and it was such a shock to my system, just leaving everything I knew, and I basically just had to start over. And more or less, it's just an experiment just to see if I could even write these songs on my own, because I've always been one to collaborate with others. I was just like, you know what, I'm going to sit down and just going to write some songs, and it's a way of venting how I was feeling. And what kind of just turned out to be was just this progression of feelings where I was feeling betrayed, and then I was in denial, and then I was figuring out self-acceptance and then forgiveness and all these things. And it just kind of became these stages of grief, if you will, that ultimately ended in me figuring out who I was. And it kind of just fell into my lap. It wasn't planned. It just played out in front of me. And more or less the record was written in chronological order, outside of the last song that was written first, kind of as the inspiration for the record. But that's just kind of what happened. It was very organic, and I took my time with it, and I'm very proud of it.
And you have every right to be. As I said, it's just a stunning record. And there's so much visceral emotion running through this music. Tell us sort of about your vision for the record, from the music standpoint.
Well, it's always been a conversation because I have a big voice, and it's hard to find a track of some sort that complements my voice without one not overshadowing the other. It's a very difficult thing to find, with also something being relevant. So it really took the right tools, and I was lucky to find that with my producer, Travis Laws, which happened to be my manager's husband. That was a complete freak accident. He just kind of overheard me talking to her about what I wanted to do, and he said, let me take a stab at this. And we kind of nailed it. First off, he just understood where my voice laid, and he used a bunch of synths and pads. We really did we wanted a pop record. We wanted an in-the-box record with some accents of real strings and real guitars. But he knew certain frequencies that complemented my voice and ways to kind of soundscape it to all make sense. So that was just really important, was just not letting the track overshadow my voice and vice versa, and finding something that was relevant to today.
All hail science, right?
I mean, it's a bigger process than you think. Like with me being a big singer, it's hard to find that balance. It really is.
And you released a video of the opening track of your somewhat, I don't know, sultry, soulful R&B number, How Could You? But the video actually opens with your rendition of Crying as sort of an interlude, which is absolutely haunting, but you chose not to include Crying on the record.
Crying, we decided to only have available for those who pledged, because I was a part of the whole Pledge Music campaign, and we thought that was just like a special thing for those who wanted to contribute to the record. So the way to listen to it is through YouTube and watching the video, but there's another cover on the record, so it's not like the only cover that I'm ever going to do, so we're good.
Although you did an absolutely stunning version of that, and I was going to ask you about that. I was just talking to Michael Wilton of Queensryche the other day, who also did their new album through Pledge, and that's really caused a whole lot of heartache for the artists and for the fans and everything. How have you managed to work through this so far?
It's been a mess, and it's just an unfortunate situation. I think Pledge began as such a positive thing for artists and fan relationships, and it's just kind of gone sour, and hopefully it'll get resolved and figured out in the near future. My situation personally is okay. I've worked it out. We had some very close connections with people up in the higher rankings of Pledge Music, but yeah, it's a nightmare. It's unfortunate.
Well, I'm glad that it worked out then for you and your fans. So now you've also released Shiny Toy, which got a wonderful response, and now, of course, the new one, Renegade. You shot Shiny Toy on a farm in Virginia, I believe, and then Renegade is sort of a one-shot in a parking garage, which was so well done, mostly black and white. And as you sort of alluded to, you've done videos for all the tracks on the records, even the interludes, I believe, correct?
Basically, that was my big idea once I finished the record, because it's hard to promote, I think, a concept record. I mean, I think we live in kind of a singles world. It's hard to get people to pay attention to a full record in itself, even well-established artists. But it was really important for me to tell this story in its entirety. And I thought, what better way to do it than also have a visual that goes along with it to get people more enticed to actually watch the story. So it's more or less like a mini series on YouTube, if you will. So every 2 weeks we have a video that comes out, and it really tells the progression of the emotion of the record, of the story, in just a visual way. So yeah, there's a lot more videos to come.
Well, and Renegade is the one that you just released, and very poignant and raw, emotional song. Tell us a little bit about that track.
That track, I think I wrote it in about 10 minutes, and I wrote it as just a piano ballad. And then my producer, Travis, he kind of took it and created this haunting track that really complemented the sentiment of the song. And, I mean, it's just kind of at the core of, like, the heartbreak and, you know, at the core of the breakup. I think that song is kind of like a pivotal moment for that. And I worked with Digital Spark Studios, and they did all of my videos for this. And it's my cousin's husband, who is one of the owners of Digital Spark Studios. And it was his vision for this video in specific that just really came to life and really just captured that raw emotion. So, I mean, I think we nailed it both visually and musically.
Well, it was interesting when I was listening to the song, you know, not really looking at the video, but just listening to the music, knowing of the video, I was like, you know, the song itself feels like a one-shot thing where it's just this smooth transitional piece through, and it just ties in so beautifully with that video that it was like written for it.
I swear, you know, it's funny, people, most of the videos, like, we collaborated, and they were very well thought out and pre-planned and all these things. And for whatever reason, Renegade, we struggled as a team to try to figure out what the best concept was visually to capture the rawness. And I mean, we toyed around with maybe 72 ideas, I kid you not. And I really have to credit Adam. He came forward with this idea. He's like, I've got this idea. He's like, I think this is what we should do. And I was like, yes, absolutely. I showed up. He had it all mapped out. It was perfect. Couldn't be happier.
Now, and you alluded to this earlier, Crying, not the only cover you recorded for this process. It's the news is out there now, so might as well mention it. The album has this stunningly poignant and emotive version of Roxette's It Must Have Been Love, which just kills. Tell us about doing that track and why you chose that one in particular.
I've always been a fan of that song, and it's actually a vocally challenging, hard song to sing. It's not an easy song. It's really high, it's belty, and I mean, I grew up on Pretty Woman, and I've heard the song a million times as a child. And actually, while my girlfriend's on tour with me with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, they're my best friends, and my one friend, Ashley Hollister, her and I would listen to, you know, throwback songs all the time while we were getting ready, and that song would always pop up, and it was one of our favorites. And I looked at her one day, and I was like, Ashley, I'm going to cover this song. And she's like, oh, my gosh, you 100% should. It's the best song on the planet. I was like, yeah, but I was like, I'm going to do a different arrangement. I was like, I'm not doing it up-tempo. I'm going to break it down and really show, like, the emotional side of this song, because I think people don't really listen to the lyrics because the 80s track is so poppy. And it's a really beautiful, touching song. It's quite sad. So I had my friend Aurelian Bodinek, who is one of my favorite guitarists, and also he's a producer. I was like, Aurelian, let's try this. I want to do something scaled down. Let's just see what we can come up with. And he nailed it on the first take. And I was like, perfect. And then I had my friend Asha Mevlana, and she played all the strings on it. And it was very organic, easy, made sense. And that's what you hear.
And you didn't throw it on at the end as sort of a bonus track or anything. It is in about 2/3 of the way through the album, which means it's part of the story. What part of the story are you sort of telling at that point?
That is right after I do Reflection. That's one of the interludes that goes into a song called Crazy, which then goes into Must Have Been Love, where it's kind of the reflective part of the relationship when you know it's over and you almost question, should you go back? But you can't, but you just accept that it is, you are where you are, and it's time to move forward from that.
And then we get to probably my favorite track on the album, Don't Let Yourself Down, which may be the most personal, if not most empowering song on the record.
Thank you. Yeah, that one actually, that's the song that I spoke of earlier when I said it really sparked the record. I had just gone through my big life change, and I was pretty much a mess. I couldn't see straight. I couldn't eat. It was just one of those, like, I was just lost on all levels. And I was on a family vacation, and my mother looked at me, and she was just like, honey, she was like, you've got to get it together. You, like, don't let yourself down. And I've never heard that saying. She's never said that to me before, and it just was very poignant to me. And I was like, I'm going to write a song about that. I think that really just kind of, that makes a lot of sense. And I sat down at my aunt and uncle's piano, and I wrote the chorus for it, and then I put the song away, and I didn't revisit it for months and months and months, until almost at the conclusion of the record. And then I was able to really write the verses and understand the sentiment that I knew I was going to experience, but I hadn't experienced at the time that the idea came to me. But it's a powerful song for me personally, and I think it makes sense universally that it's just, we're going to go through so many trials and tribulations in our lives, and at the end of the day, like, we have a choice to either, like, get up, move forward, or we can, fall again. And I think every time we need to choose to get up and move forward. So that's more or less the sentiment.
Thank you, Mom.
I don't think, Mom.
So, and then it all sort of culminates in that moment of forgiveness, which is the interlude. And then you close it out with the track, The Words You Wanted. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, The Words You Wanted was actually a track that my ex-boyfriend and I, or he had written. He's a musician himself. We were in a band together for many, many years, and we were co-writers. We collaborated on everything. We wrote a number of great songs together, and he had this track, and I actually had written an idea on top of it maybe a year before, and I had it just in a folder, and I came across the track again, and I was like, wow, that's really beautiful. I think I'm going to write a different song on top of it. And I sat down, and I think I wrote it in 5 minutes, and it was just kind of the things that I wanted to say to him, kind of post all the anger and hurt and heartbreak. And it was more just like, be free, we loved. And it's a really nice conclusion to the record, because it kind of sums up all the emotions and where one hopes to lie at the end of, going through a trauma, if you will.
Right. Every relationship is a growth period in your life, no matter how it ends. But I have to imagine this whole process has been amazingly cathartic for you.
100%. It's the only way I know how to vent. From a young age, I've always written songs. I've always been pretty prolific. I write all the time. Even if I throw songs away, I write as a form of therapy and a way just to vent. And what it started truly as just like me just venting about my heartbreak really became me figuring out my voice as an artist the songwriter. So it served multiple purposes for me. And so I'm grateful for this record on many personal levels.
Well, we're grateful, despite the heartbreak it took to bring it to us, that you made the record, because as I said at the outset, it's just a phenomenal album. The what is it, April 19th can't get here fast enough. You've said we've got all these videos. You're supposed to be releasing them every couple of weeks. Obviously, the date's been pushed back. How difficult is it for you to choose which video to release next when they're all like your children?
You know what? That was a very simple, easy answer, because we did everything, like everything's in chronological order with the record. So
Gotcha.
The songs are being released in order as well as the videos. So there is no like major single, and that's what the idea behind this concept record. It's not like Shiny Toy is my first single. They're kind of all singles because one doesn't make sense without the other. So it's just we're telling a story, and you can pick up at any point in the story, and hopefully it speaks to you.
Well, the album definitely spoke to me. It's a beautiful story, and I'm glad to see you finally get a chance to really shine in your own light. So thank you for taking a little bit of time to chat with us.
No, thank you. It means the world, so thank you.